We are ready to go.
All right. I'd like to call to order the Township of Concord Council meeting for February 1st, 2022. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Our meetings are live streamed. If anyone is recording, we just ask that you are not disruptive to the rest of the crowd, and it appears like it's fine. Next, no. Excuse me, we'll ask the public comment. We're moving on now.
You have a right to make an objection at any time. 710(1)(c). State lawyers back in 1986 interpreted requiring people violation of the Sunshine Act. I have my objection in a minute so that my legal rights are preserved. Thank you.
Pass this down to the solicitor, please. Okay, next on the agenda is the Township Council approval of the meeting minutes of January 3rd, the reorganization and regular meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to do so?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is the total expenditures. Dana, you're going to handle the bills from now on moving forward, please?
Sure. So the total expenditures are $684,656.18, which consists of January payroll, which is $172,848.57, current bills totaling $364,601.45, sewer bills totaling $147,206.16, and that's in the form of a motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next, the monthly activity reports. We're going to do something different. Each council member is going to, moving forward, take one of these items and report on it. Public safety, Vanita, I think you're going to be handling that moving forward.
Yes.
So the microphone's yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everybody. In light of some of the incidents that took place in November and December in our township during the holiday times, we are working on implementing public safety programs to protect our residents. We have broadly identified some initiatives which will be discussed in the upcoming weeks. With inputs from our fire and EMS as well as the police department. Updates will be provided as they become available. And next, I hand over to Trooper Michelle Knapp for the monthly report.
Okay. You're up. Good evening, guys. How are you?
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see everyone. Happy New Year.
You too?
First of us actually seeing each other in 2022.
Yes.
So, you guys all know me, but I want to take the opportunity to introduce you to Trooper Michelle Knapp. She's going to be filling my old role as the CEO for Troop K Media. I knew you were coming for that. So, so she's going to take a moment just to introduce herself to you, where she came from, and I'll take it away from there.
Good evening. My name is Trooper Michelle Knapp with the Pennsylvania State Police. I just transferred recently to the media barracks and took over the community service spot. I have 22 years with the Pennsylvania State Police. I'm coming up on my 22nd year, 12 years on the road. It was a blessing to spend my whole 22 years at Philadelphia. So this is definitely a different animal. But building is amazing, gorgeous, and I look forward to working with you guys for noise complaints, township complaints, any animal complaints. We have several different programs. I'm actually the director of the Camp Cadet program, which is run for Philadelphia, Media, and Philadelphia, Delaware County, and Montgomery counties for kids ages 11 to 14. So I will be providing some information about Camp Cadet in the near future. We also have multiple programs for bullying and any other mock shooter drills. If you wanted to bring that to the township building and you have disgruntled township residents or whatever, if we want to go through any shooting training. What else do we have? We have like the cyber alerts, cyber scams and stuff like that. So if you guys want to get on board with any of that training, I can provide that service with Trooper Tobin. But I just want to make sure that I met everybody and got a name to a face. So Trooper Tobin has the results for January's stats for you guys.
Well, welcome to Delaware County. Glad to have you.
So guys, I'll be brief. I just wanted to go over some of the most important things for last month and just do comparison data with everyone. So we did have an increase of crashes that occurred throughout the township. It did increase by 15%. And DUI incidents, we had 2 in the township, and our proactive traffic stops had increased 49%. So we conducted 124 traffic stops throughout the township last month. Burglaries, we did have 1. I'm happy to report that is a big decrease from last year, 75% decrease. And also, as far as our thefts concerned, we did have an increase in thefts. However, Concord Township isn't the only one that happened. It happened across the board. You know, 'tis the season, November, December, Thanksgiving, holiday. What do we got? New Year's, always escalated and increased during that time. So as far as the incidents that we had that I would like to share with everyone, we had 2 traffic stops that occurred in the township that resulted in a DUI arrest, and we did have 1 DUI crash occur as well. That DUI crash occurred on January 21st from 4:48 p.m. We had 3 troopers that responded to 147 Heather Lane. And upon making contact with that operator, he was found to be under the influence of alcohol, and he was processed, taken back to PSP Media and released. As far as our domestic security checks that I would like to share with everyone, we did have 168, predominantly focusing on the Namens Creek Wawa location, given the circumstances that happened in the month of November last year. And we did focus on, our schools, places of worship, shopping centers, things of that nature. So regarding the Wawa incidents, I would like to just take a second to comment, since those 2 November incidents that we had regarding the attempted carjacking and the carjacking that occurred that month, we have done a total of 90 incidents. And when I say incidents, I'm talking about actual patrol checks and domestic security checks at that location. And I am happy to say here today that there have been no reported carjackings or issues as far as people being, targeted, ag assault cases occurring, things of that nature. So I am happy to say that. All in all, till today's date, we have 101 incidents at that location. And then when I say incidents, again, I'm talking about patrol checks and domestic security checks, not actual criminal-related incidents, just for clarity.
Excuse me, so that's more like a visit. They visited the place for an inspection.
Yes.
Yeah.
So given those, circumstances that happened in November,
I appreciate
we
the
just take
frequency.
extra
Thank you.
caution for that. Yep.
Trooper Tobin, will they continue? Or will they continue at that same level in the future or for the foreseeable future?
For the foreseeable future. I could definitely, give some peace of mind for that. But depending on, the circumstances, crime travels. So if we're paying a lot of attention to one area, doesn't necessarily mean the bad guys and the bad girls are going to travel to another location of interest. So just keep that in mind. But for the foreseeable future, short answer, yes.
Trooper Tobin, to your point, I noticed that there have been reports down in Delaware along Concord Pike of similar instances at the Wawa there across from Concord Mall, at one of the restaurants just past that. And so obviously any attempted carjacking is an unusual circumstance most of us don't find ourselves in, and I believe probably don't really know how to react to. Is there any advice you might give to our residents were they to ever, God forbid, face a circumstance like that?
Yes, absolutely. So that's a very good point. I'm glad that you asked that. So if anybody's ever presented with threat, So whether it's a threat of deadly force or even just a threat of somebody with an edged weapon trying to take something, whether it's your belongings or so much so as your vehicle, please, please, please do not engage. So your life is way more important than any materialistic thing. So what you need to do is be the best witness you could be. When I'm saying about that, I'm talking about details. Unfortunately, yes, people are wearing masks. That makes our life a little bit more difficult at this time. However, your description is key. You know, obviously your location of where it happened, description, clothing, facial hair, black, white, Hispanic, that type of thing. Okay? Surveillance too. That is very important, and direction of travel. So again, best witness you could be. Please do not engage and call us immediately.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I just have two other things I would like to share just regarding New Year's holiday crashes. So from December 31st through the 2nd, this is department-wide now, not in Concord Township. So and when I say these numbers, I don't want you to think that it's just here. So we investigated as a whole department 471 motor vehicle crashes throughout the state. And out of those 471, 2 of them were fatalities. 248 of those individuals were cited and arrested for DUI-related charges as well. And then as far as our drug-related statistics, I always love to share these because that our drug problem isn't going away, and it increases every year. And this year, for the 4th quarter seizure results, we had $72 million worth of illicit drugs that we actually seized off the street. And out of that 72 million, 9.5 million of that was seized within the 4th quarter. And it was resulting in 1,000 pounds of cocaine, 733 pounds of methamphetamine, 551 pounds of fentanyl, 55 pounds of heroin, and 247,000 associated narcotics pills. So again, just please be diligent in making sure that you're taking advantage of our service and contacting us with any type of drug-related activity, because obviously that is something that is, we see a heavily increase around the state, not just within Delaware County.
Okay. Thank you.
Trooper Tobin, one more question.
Sure.
Now, the crashes, I know there were a number of crashes that happened. Were they more during the New Year's time, or they were consistently kept going all along through the month of January?
So we always see an increased crash rate, again, department-wide, not just Concord Township, within the months of November through January. Well, I would feel confident in saying January 2nd, you know, given the New Year's holiday being the December 31st and New Year's Day.
Okay.
So, yes, but if you'd like, I could get you more exact figures if you're interested.
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vanita, do you have anything else you need to add?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. I do have to run with the numbers for our Concord Township Fire Marshal's report. The fire incidents, total fire incidents this year, just in the month January alone, decreased compared to the last year's from 5 to 3. We also had less number of total non-fire incidents. Last year, we had, in the month of January, we had 44 incidents, versus this year, this month, we had 32. Also, total fire code inspections that were done this month were 25 in total. So generally, this report does look very good for this month compared to last year's January. Thank you.
Okay. Next is Sewer and Public Works. Mr. Gillespie will handle that, please.
Yes, thank you. I have a report from our assistant manager for the sewer report. This is the operations during the month of January. Both the main plant and Riviera plant continue to meet discharge requirements within the parameters of the NPDES permits. The operations staff performed 6 lateral inspections for resale certification during the month. And as part of the technological upgrade initiatives, the sewer department is upgrading the old emergency notification systems to new cellular equipment, eliminating the need for individual phone lines at each of the pump station locations. This new technology allows for live feed to monitor station activity. And finally, the Concord Road North Sewer Project plans are being finalized for bidding purposes. When we go over to Public Works, we have a very detailed memorandum from Dan Moyer, our Director of Public Works, just summarizing some of the activities. Many culvert cleanouts throughout the township. Also at the Senior Center, replacing heater modules, Public Works activities at that location, plumbing repairs, etc., road signs, cataloging for future improvements. And one that's not on here that I will talk about is the snow removal. I know we've had a lot of snow in January, and I was actually absent for the last snowstorm, being out of town. But my colleagues all tell me that Public Works performed an admirable job, and just like to give them a attaboy for their efforts in the snow removal for the past month. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, John. Next, open space, trails, recreations, Mr. Crossan.
Thanks, Mr. President. Just a few updates with regard to our the township update of its comprehensive open space plan. We're putting the final touches on that. I met recently with our township engineer and his staff to go over that. I anticipate something more that we can share with the public and our and the rest of council shortly in the next coming months. Amanda has been working with our staff and our Parks and Rec leader, Allison O'Donohue, to plan the events for this coming year and this summer. We had a fantastic summer of events, as everyone remembers, last year, and we are building on that next year, or this coming year. So in terms of concerts, movie nights, from pie baking contests, we're adding nature walks in our parks and trails and so forth. And so I believe they're working towards something every week in the summer, which is very exciting. So more to come on that. And I encourage our residents to continue to take advantage of our trails, even in the winter months.
Okay. Building and Code Enforcement, Colleen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the zoning officer's report for January of 2022. We had 18 building permits, slightly up from a year ago at 15. So it's nice to see, continued opportunities that are occurring. Our plumbing permits were in line with last year at 10, 6 mechanical permits, 22 electrical permits, and we had 8 residential resale certifications in the month of January compared to 9 in 2021, and 1 commercial resale certification. We issued 7 COs, certificate of occupancy. And as far as development status, we have Maris Grove, Rose Court, the renovations to the existing building continue. We have the medical building on Baltimore Pike that's completed but remains vacant at this point. And the framing continues at the Astoria building on Route 202 going southbound, which is the MOVE location. And that is really looking very nice, the facade of that building as it continues. And then as far as a couple of businesses that we're seeing some movement on, they've begun the interior construction on the Ulta site in Glen Eagle. And we are expecting to see open fairly soon 2SP on Route 202 on the northbound side in front of the Firebird restaurant there. So that's some exciting news. I know people have been waiting for that to open for quite some time since they've seen that sign. So it's good to see some new businesses opening up in the area.
Okay, thank you, Colleen. Planning Commission, Larry.
Planning Commission activities for January 2022. The Planning Commission public meeting was canceled for January 18th of 2022, and the Planning Commission agenda meeting was held on January 10th, 2022. The Planning Commission nominated Sean Lawler as chairman, Jammer Doty as vice chair, and Amy Capelli as secretary. These nominations were unanimously approved by the Planning Commission members. New projects, Concordville Hotel Incorporated was accepted for review, and project manager Sarita Trevetti and co-manager Ben Little were assigned. Tommy's Car Wash, Express Car Wash was accepted for review. Project manager Mark Elser and co-project manager Ben Little were assigned. Projects, extensions were issued for 823 Shavertown Road and also the Stephanide subdivision. No other projects were up for discussion. In the schedule for this month, the agenda meeting will be held on February 14th, 2022, and the public meeting will be on February 22nd, 2022.
Thank you, Larry.
That's it
I'm
this
sure they miss you since you came over here. You were one of their members, and hope you'll continue on as the liaison to the Planning Commission. Next is Solicitor's Report.
Is presently coordinating reviews with the township manager, the engineer, and the code department regarding various code provisions. Thank you.
Township Engineer, Mr. Klein.
Good evening. Just 3 updates. First, this time of year, we always begin evaluating our summer road program, meeting with Public Works staff, my staff, and others here at the township. So we will be accepting any complaints, concerns. Please get those to Amanda's attention as soon as possible so we can work through the budget and costs to get that out to bid this spring. I do not have a preliminary list as of yet. Hopefully I'll have that update maybe at the March meeting as we fine tune things. Second, the pickleball project. I think we are on schedule for that. Looks like that should be on your agenda for the March meeting for an award, assuming the bidding process goes well. And then last, I just kind of want to make a general comment about traffic signals. I've seen a lot of chatter on social media, different places, different complaints, concerns, and I just want to reiterate to everybody here, we are dialed into PennDOT system. We can, review and answer any questions that are out there, complaints. So please get those to Amanda, to her attention, and the more specificity you can provide, the better. The exact intersection, which direction you're traveling, what time of day it was, and we can really analyze that and fine tune that and make sure we can see what you were seeing. 9 times out of 10, things are operating in a very efficient, smooth fashion. Emergency vehicles, accidents, snow, wind, electrical malfunctions, things do happen and things do get out of sync. But we are tied into PennDOT's virtual system. We can pull it up. I can't personally, but on a computer at my office, we can pull it up and observe anything at any time. But unfortunately, generic complaints or non-specific complaints are very hard to address or pin down. So always willing to accept feedback. There's room for improvement, absolutely. I think the goal of this township has always been, we have 3 U.S. interstates running through this township, and we want to keep traffic moving on those 3 U.S. interstates so they're not going down residential streets and side streets. So, signals are a priority. The township has put a lot of money into those signals, working with PennDOT, a lot of grant money, and we want to make sure that's working well. So again, all feedback is welcome. Please get that to Amanda. Anything you observe, we'll take that under consideration. So if there's any specific questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Nate? Seeing none, Amanda, your report, please.
Sure, thank you. First, I want to just elaborate John Gillespie's comments about Public Works and the snow removal. I know you were in sunny weather, but as the manager here, our staff does a fantastic job. We received a handful of complaints. I value feedback 100%. There's nobody who doesn't value feedback. What I will remind folks of is remembering that there is a group of people who just put in 16 to 20 hours of work while a lot of us slept in our beds pretty warm that night. So when we are giving feedback, I hope that it's positive in the sense that we're all on the same team. We're all working together. We have some great employees here. You have people away from their families. Everybody's trying really, really hard. So I just like to remind folks of that sometimes, because sometimes it doesn't come across in that manner. And I know it's tough. Snow is a tough thing. And anybody knows that who has dealt with snowstorms, because no storm is alike, just like no snowflake is alike. So what happens is things are different, temperatures change, and all kinds of things. So I just want to remind folks of that. More importantly, I want to make sure that we're able to provide. We have on our township's website a section that says report a concern. You can click down the Department for Public Works and report any issues that you're seeing. However, we're going to try to make that way more apparent during the snowstorms so that when any storm, actually, it doesn't just have to be snow, we're hoping to have something that's that would pop up right on our website during any type of storm, that folks would be able to use that same portal, but it would go directly to the Public Works Director to keep a list so that we can address things. Also, remember, we try to address things as quickly as possible, but sometimes I say as possible. Folks need to understand, during a storm and even after, an hour after a storm, especially a snowstorm similar to what we received, you're not going to have blacktop right away. Salt doesn't really work in temperatures under 20 degrees. So I just want to, remind folks, I want to make sure I thank our crew. They did a really good job. We have contractors who worked really hard, and we have that contract's bid every so many years. So I know there were folks online, saying stuff about contractors. We received one bid this last snowstorm, and I'm very thankful for that because we have 6 Public Works employees. So I want to make sure everybody understands that, and thanks the folks, those unsung heroes who are out there in the middle of the night while many of us are home in our beds. So I'll just reiterate that. And additionally, we maintain 55 miles of roadway in this township that we own. So PennDOT maintains about 33 miles. It's about 85 miles all said and done, a little over that. So I'd just like to reiterate that. Additionally, lately, I know everybody's got a lot going on in their lives, but I just want to remind folks about professional behavior in emails. And I've been getting some that are a little inappropriate, and I will be addressing those. But I do want to point out, again, we're on the same team. The people who work in this building care about the residents. None of us are trying to do anything. Council, they're neighbors. They've lived here for years. So I just want to advise folks, I've been getting questions about some IT. I've been getting questions about why people are going to junk email. I want to make sure that I address that publicly. So we use Microsoft Outlook 365. We are on the cloud. So if you're putting inappropriate language in an email, if the subject isn't something that it likes, sometimes it just goes to a different bucket than I have. Sometimes it's not me and it's somebody else. So I just want to point out that instead of accusing or assuming, it's good to work together and try to figure out how to get it right. Nobody wants anything like that. So I just want to point that out again. And also, inappropriate language in an email can also put you somewhere else in my inbox because Outlook decides. So I don't pretend to be an IT professional. I have consulted ours. We've done a lot on the IT front over the last several years, but we're always working. And I don't have a full-time IT professional that sits physically in the building. We troubleshoot on our own when we can, so I don't spend thousands of dollars on having to call my IT company. So I would like to point that out also. And then additionally, more importantly, one of the great things out of the charter is State of the Township. So at next month's meeting, I will provide a review on that, and I'll make sure council has that at the end of this month per the charter. And good things, great things. So thank you so much.
Public comment? Anyone with any comment? Please come forward. We'll need your name and address, please.
And Hemphill, 39 Mill Race Place. Question for Nate or Amanda. The stones that are on the side of Cheney Road above Mill Race, has PennDOT notified the township as to whether they're going to secure those rocks?
So here's what's happening in the PennDOT world there. Yes, they have. And I think I've emailed you guys from some of the neighbors when we had meetings over the summertime. PennDOT has full plans to reestablish that swale and take care of it. I believe they did stabilization, and I'm saying I believe from what we were told they have done stabilization in that area. PennDOT also has personnel issues and transitions right now that they're working on from a staffing standpoint. And we're being told that a lot will be happening on Cheney Road, and some in particular in the area you're talking about. I don't pretend to know a timeline. If you saw our emails constantly about we're closing Cheney from here to here because of the pipe being replaced. And I wanted to pull my hair out because every day I was getting a message from PennDOT, yes, we're doing it. The next day, no, we're not doing it. Representative Williams' office and I were trying to narrow that down so we didn't have to do flip-flop communication. But unfortunately, fortunately, I guess, it is a state roadway. They are working on it. They're only allowed to do certain things this time of year. I was also told, I just met a new gentleman who's been promoted, who's going to be working now as the assistant to Tony Goreski, and I'm hoping to see things start getting ticked off the list.
Okay.
So we are on the list, 100%.
Seems like an easy one for them, with a landscape
Yes.
fabric of some sort. So if you drive north on Route 1 through Middletown Township, there are at least 3 lights that you can turn across 2 lanes to make a left-hand turn on green. In other words, you can yield, whereas in Concord, many of the turns that you would make across 2 lanes, there's a red arrow. In Middletown, you don't see that a lot. You don't see it at Valley Road, you don't see it at 452, you don't see it at other intersections in Middletown. I'm just curious, can Concord look at some of our intersections, like the one leading into the back of Home Depot, like the one onto Cheney Road? There are frequently excellent sight lines, especially at Cheney Road, turning southbound on the Cheney. Turning northbound is a different story. Sight lines there are lousy. I would really appreciate if the township just looked at some of these.
Yeah, Ken, short answer is absolutely, you can take a look at it.
Okay.
What I will say is every intersection is unique, and sight distance is not the only requirement. 322 speeds come into play. There's various requirements, but we will be happy to look at any intersection, and if there's an improvement we can make such as that, that's also not going to reduce time on Baltimore Pike, for example. Every time we do one of those things, now we're taking away traffic from somewhere else. So there's a lot of variables in play.
Well, with the one on 322 at Home Depot, you sit there at a red light and there aren't cars coming for 3 seconds.
322 northbound, turning left into Home Depot?
Yes.
Okay, I'll put that on the list. I mean, if everybody
Whereas
counts,
if you're turning onto Pennell Road in Middletown at 452, you can't even see the oncoming traffic, and you're allowed to make a left there. I think that's actually a bad example of a yield.
And Ken, I'll give you, I believe I've even talked to PennDOT about that exact intersection, and I want to say they verbally told me they would not make that modification. I'll get some specificity on why they've told me that. Again, it might be just those speeds coming down 322, and they just don't think it's worthwhile. So it's not always our call. We can suggest it, we can justify it, but ultimately it's PennDOT that makes that decision. So, but I can certainly look at that intersection. If there's other ones,
I would PennDOT not approve that, but allow the one at Valley Road.
every intersection stands on its own.
Yeah,
You
but
can't compare the intersections.
also, Nate, I think in just driving around, and you're right about Middletown, and even if you're going Baltimore Pike and you want to make the left onto Applied Card, you can actually make a U-turn if you yield. I remember in my years being here, that's something new for PennDOT. I think a lot of these things they are doing are inconsistent with what they've done with old signals. So I think you're seeing them more in Middletown. Other places I've driven around where the signals are relatively new, they're allowing movements that normally, historically, we haven't seen with PennDOT. So maybe some of our intersection might qualify. Maybe some will be a flat-out no, but I think it's a good idea we look into it.
I'll drive that way home tonight, to be honest with you. I don't drive that way normally. Was there a second intersection you mentioned?
Home Depot and Cheney Road
At
Route 1.
Well, that's a good.
Just heading southbound on the Cheney, not northbound, because northbound sightlines are terrible.
Yeah, and we made that modification on purpose from a safety standpoint.
But the southbound direction, turning on the Cheney southbound, the way the road is kinked, you have a full view of Route 1.
Yeah, I'll look at that, but we went through a whole safety analysis of that intersection with PennDOT after fatality, and we made a bunch of modifications, so I just don't, I got to take a look at that one too. But southbound 1 at Cheney is what you're saying.
I think we should look at it, but naturally PennDOT has the final say.
And and these may all be excellent suggestions, but I would just want everyone to, a word of caution, that when PennDOT sets this up with a light, and then we interfere or interject, and that light gets taken down and there's a serious accident or someone loses their life, normally the township would not be involved in that lawsuit. But if we're telling the state to take that light down, we could be putting ourselves in a precarious situation. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you. Josh Tversky. I wanted to discuss the budget. On October 29th, 2021, the preliminary budget was released. It showed an estimated 2021 general fund surplus of $103,145. Then on November 1st, 2021, the township posted a 0% tax increase notice on its Facebook page. It appears to be the only post in the history of the township's Facebook that no comments were allowed. Then just 5 weeks later, the final budget came out and the surplus exploded to $506,995. Still no tax decrease was done. Where did all this money go? Pickleball, spending $600,000 on 6 new pickleball courts. Just want to let you know that via Right to Know and emails from some other sources, you have a Stalin-like leader in a person named Betty, I'll withhold her last name, who is the head of the nonprofit Gherkins Club, who I understand is kicking residents off the courts who want to play. I also understand that for the $600,000, she just had to run a campaign rally for all you at the courts, and she sent an email on the official Gherkins email account urging all her members to vote for you. I understand the IRS has been notified of all this. Station Road posted at 40 miles an hour off of 322 through the curve and right into the school zone. That seems really fast. Station Road off of 322 is posted. A new sign came up at 40 miles an hour. I was driving the kids to school and thought that was nuts.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
It's posted at 40 miles an hour coming onto Station Road at 322.
Okay. Is there a question?
Why is it so fast? I mean, there's a curve right there and it heads right into the 15-mile-an-hour school zone.
Okay.
Email. And this is why this is so long, because all my email's been swallowed for God knows how long. We know in 2018 the email system of the township was basically wide open. The passwords are basically all the same. Anyone with knowledge of that could look at anyone's email. I'm just curious now, looking back, if that was done on purpose. The email system was upgraded after that finding, but fast forward to now, through Right to Know, actually by accident, because we were trying to find out why Hanukkah was missed on the Facebook page, and in that Right to Know, it was discovered that the email system's been swallowing emails since at least October 21. Email reliability is critical to modern communication, and it's easy to set up and do. It's totally unacceptable to not have a working email system. I'm curious, has that been corrected, and what action was taken? And then lastly, yesterday, after reviewing the minutes from the last public meeting, which was the January 3rd, 2022 meeting, something remarkable occurred to me. I'm actually surprised it never occurred to Mr. Donahue. You took various official actions like appointing committee members, approving the prior meeting minutes, approving expenditures, things like taking action to appoint various officials and professionals. I would have liked to have the opportunity to tell you the reasons why I thought the CPAs were not independent and unable to perform the township audit, and therefore rendering the audit unclean. And among other things, I would have liked to let you know that the solicitor's retainer of over $4,000 a month just to attend the council meetings is outrageous, and to let you know that the solicitor has on at least 2 occasions appeared on a public Zoom meeting with Confederate war leaders in his background. You know about that too, right? Muchler? No? All of this official action took place prior to the public comment section of the meeting. This is a complete violation of the Sunshine Act, which requires public comment to be done before any official actions are taken. I would therefore warn the council to not take any further action until you properly advertise a new public meeting with all the proper posting and actually take public comment before revoting on all the items from the beginning of the last meeting. And you also need to have public comment before all of tonight's action before public comment that was taken. I have a case here that was just decided in 2020. Spells out exactly what was wrong and that's been done here. Actually, the judge ordered all of the council to go to a class about the Sunshine Act. Maybe that's a good idea for all of you. I'm finished.
particular in our file about Schoolhouse and Baltimore Pike?
Yes.
Email for public comment? I'm sorry.
Actually, Mr. Torski was here and read one, so you had two. And then Miss Holly Taylor had emailed, her question was regarding public safety, and she was wondering, in light of some of the crime information that was being posted on social media, if there was a crime wave or anything happening compared to previous years, and she was also asking what the township is doing to invest in public safety.
Thank you, Amanda. This is a great question from Holly. Holly, thank you for your question. I appreciate you bringing this up. I think I partially have already answered part of your question. The first one is there crime wave compared to the previous years? I'm not sure if I would want to call it crime wave. Yes, there was an uptick in the crime, well, I would say car theft incidents and theft incidents, but based on what we had for report from Lieutenant Sunderland in the month of December, he clarified that most of these were two of them, there were two car theft attempts. One was just an attempt, one was successful, and which was, the car was recovered, and the individual was apprehended. The second one was just a car theft attempt, and in both these incidents, he had clarified that the owner of the car had left the keys in the car. All the other theft incidences of not the car thefts, but the items within the car during the holiday time, the car keys were once again in the car. So it is important for the residents to know that, you know, you never leave the car keys in the car and maybe walk into the store, whereby we may think, oh, I'm going to be back in just a moment's time, but that one moment is plentiful for not the right person to be around the car. So the other question Holly had was, what is township doing to invest in public safety? As I just mentioned previously, we are working on it. We have some initiatives that we have identified, and we are going to be working with PSP as well as the fire department and EMS. I do want to make it very clear that the public safety in our township is our priority. That is one of the most important things, and we will not compromise for the public safety. Thank you.
Okay, Nate.
So actually I have good news and some updates on Schoolhouse. PennDOT reviewed and provided comments on our two signal plans. Actually, to Mr. Hemphill's comment earlier this evening, as everybody recalls, we were looking to modify the signals at Baltimore Pike and Cheney, as well as Baltimore Pike and Stony Bank Road to facilitate southbound left turn movements. So PennDOT gave us some feedback. We've made those revisions. We sent it back. We expect that to be approved, and we'll have Amanda sign that plan. Once we get that back, we'll work with our signal maintenance contractor to implement those improvements. So I don't want to give a time frame on that, but I'm hoping over the next 4 to 6 weeks, that's something we'll be able to implement at those signals. Second, I talked to PennDOT's, one of their maintenance staff. They're reviewing our four-way stop application at the intersection of Schoolhouse, Cheney, and Trimble. No feedback yet on that. And then last, their department reviewed our southbound Schoolhouse left turn restriction onto Baltimore Pike and has approved that concept. So we will now essentially figure out how to get that constructed. So we will do that after the signal work. We want to get the signals up and running correctly to help the situation before we ban the left at Schoolhouse. More to come. I'll work with Amanda on a little bit of PR and announcement as we proceed to those projects.
John, I think that's the sequencing we had posed when this thing originally started. So we're pretty much going down the list as it was presented. I think the last item on the list was the possible deceleration lane from Baltimore Pike to Schoolhouse, because that was going to take,
I think
probably in scale of magnitude and cost, that was the biggest.
I think what we'll do, from a staff level, I think let me cross these two projects off, and then we'll kind of get into that next is my game plan.
Everybody okay with that?
Great
great.
progress on that, Nate. It
Every
just,
once in a while, John, every once in a
It
while.
seems that these things take a little bit longer than you think.
Yeah, thank Mr. Schneider for us. Okay, under new business, first is Resolution 13 of 2022, 155 Governor Markham, known as the Stephenai subdivision. Nate, I think you have, you're going to go into some detail on that. I see Mr. Hootman here on behalf of the applicant.
Yeah, Amanda's going to pull up the plan here. I think everybody's familiar with this plan. It's been around for a little while. It's essentially a 3-lot subdivision. There's one existing lot on the top left of your screen, 2 proposed lots. This is on Governor Markham Drive, kind of in the northeast quadrant of the township here. If everybody kind of recalls this section of the township, a lot of these kind of 3 to 4 acre lots that have historically been subdivided into 2, 3 lots over the years. This is really one of the last tracts that has not seen that type of subdivision. This project had to receive a recent zoning hearing board affirmation to allow its development. It was slightly below the 3 acre minimum that the code required. That was involved Delaware County Court as well as the zoning hearing board. That has been resolved. So we do have a recommendation from the Planning Commission and the county for approval tonight. Mr. Hootman is here. He can go into some more detail. But again, a 3-lot subdivision, 2 new lots. The lots will have wells and they will have on-site septic, as Governor Markham has neither of those utilities in the area. Stormwater management improvements as well. This is essentially across the street from the Markham Mills, Monty Miller 2-lot subdivision that should be getting underway actually any day now, I think, once the weather breaks. I can answer any questions. Matt can explain a little further. But this has been reviewed and recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, and we've prepared some draft conditions for Council's consideration this evening.
Very good. If Council would like, I could give a brief presentation of the subdivision application.
I think we have seen this thing, at least some of us, for many, many years, but give us the Cliff Note versions. It probably wouldn't hurt.
Yes. Just to introduce myself, I'm Matthew Hootman, president of the firm of G.D. Hootman & Son and Media, and we were retained by the Stephenai family to prepare the subdivision plans. The property is coming in on Governor Markham Drive off Cheney. It's just several properties from the end of Governor Markham Drive on the right-hand side. As mentioned earlier, the existing house is located on the north central piece of the property, which allows for a new lot 2 to the right of the existing house and a flag lot to the rear of the existing house. Private water supply, private on-lot sewage disposal. There's, I think, a total of 4 stormwater management systems, 1 on lot 3, 2 on lot 2, and 1 in front of lot 1, in order to control the increased runoff from the proposed impervious surfaces. As per the township's request, the applicant has agreed to do some repairs to an inlet on their side of Governor Markham Drive. At the low point, they're going to replace the hood of that inlet and rebuild the concrete walls in the inlet as required. Throughout the process with the Planning Commission and with the reviews from the township engineer, there was concern about buffering and landscaping with respect to the impact of adjoining property owners by this subdivision. We met with a landscape planner from the township engineer's office and the Planning Commission project manager and went over and made an assessment of the trees and where the buffer plantings made sense to again help screen this development from the neighbors. I think a total of over 40 trees are being proposed with this application.
Mr. Hootman, if I may too, it's my understanding that both the applicant's attorney and one of the neighbor's attorney reached an agreement as to buffering and setbacks. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Is that set forth on this plan?
Not this plan. The latest plan was one revision after this plan for the increased setback. I'll point it out.
Okay.
As this plan was nearing completion, there was a threat of an appeal by an adjoining property owner. They were concerned about the close proximity of the new construction to their property, and it was agreed that the proposed dwelling on the back lot 3 was hugging against a 20-foot side yard setback, which is in accordance with zoning. But in the effort to appease the neighbor, the applicant has agreed to restrict that so that they'll provide a 40-foot wide side yard setback, not 20, so it moves the house over 20 feet, and to provide additional buffer plantings along that property line, again, to help screen the adjoining property.
It looks like in the resolution, when we get to it, item number 7 covers that. It specifically mentions the buffer and the additional trees. That must have been the settlement that was.
I believe it does, but a new plan will be provided to the township showing that change.
It has been. It's just that I think the copy Nate had in his files was the one
Fair
rendition earlier.
Thank you.
All right, if everybody's okay, I think we'll take a stab at a resolution here. Resolution 13 of 2022, final minor subdivision of 155 Governor Markham, plan dated September 25th, 2020, last revised November 3rd, 2021. Approved to subject to the following conditions. Number 1, compliance with all comments contained in the Pannoni review letter dated November 5th, 2021, copy attached. Number 2, compliance with all comments contained in Delaware County Planning Department letter dated November 20th, 2020, copy also attached. Number 3, compliance with all comments in the Concord Township Sewage Enforcement Officer review letter dated October 20th, 2020, again attached. Number 4, compliance with all comments in the Fire Marshal's email dated November 5th, 2021, also attached. Number 5, a contribution to the Municipal Stormwater Control and BMP Operation and Maintenance Fund is required in the amount of $4,500, $1,500 per lot with stormwater management. Number 6, all deeds shall indicate further subdivision is prohibited. Number 7, which I think is part of the settlement, the deed for Lot 3 shall include the following language. Prior to the recording, the plan shall be revised to provide a 40-foot setback of the proposed structure on Lot 3 from the northern property line and the installation of an additional 2 to 3 evergreen trees along the northern property line of Lot 3. Number 8, signed, sealed surveyor certification of placement of monuments and pins must be filed with the township prior to the recording of the plan. 9, plans to be submitted in electronic format. Number 10, all deeds for the properties, legal descriptions, easements, stormwater maintenance agreements are to be submitted and reviewed and approved by the township engineer and the township solicitor prior to the release of the signed plans. Do we have a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Question.
We need a second, and then we can ask a question. You got to make the second.
Oh, okay. I second that.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Yes, I do. I have not seen the SEO's report. Maybe you can tell me about the perk test. Were they any verbiage in that report about the perk test being acceptable?
The site was perked, primary and replacement areas on lots 2 and 3, and a replacement area for the existing home for its system. I believe the tests were all observed by the Township Sewage Enforcement Officer. Planning modules have been completely filled and presented to the township. I don't know the status of township, if they've sent them to DEP or not at this point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's actually on the agenda with this.
Okay.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, congratulations. Good luck with your project. It's been a
Thank
long
you.
time coming.
Thank you all.
Did you say accept the sewer module for review?
No, we can have a separate motion for that because
Sure.
I don't see it. Okay. Can we have a motion to accept the planning, with the sewer
planning module.
sewer planning module for this subdivision for review? Do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Don't worry, Amanda, we covered for you.
Thanks.
All right, resolution number 14 of 2022. In anticipation of the sanitary sewers being installed in Cambridge Downs and also on Clayton Park Drive, the Township Sewer Department is requiring an easement through one of the properties known as 44 Cambridge Drive. We were able to successfully negotiate an easement with a Mr. Mark Westrad, owner of the property, and it's for a sanitary sewer easement, one of the first of 2 we will need in order to complete the final planning for the sewers for that neighborhood. Township is paying Mr. Westrad $12,000 for that easement. We have a motion to approve resolution number 14 of 2022.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Crossan, you're going to handle this thing, which isn't bad. Not good?
Nah, that's pretty funny. That's the best thing on the agenda tonight. Everyone has driven down 322, and while they sit in traffic at the McDonald's and Walmart in Upper Chi, they've noticed all those great goats at the farm there. And we received word at the township last month in response actually to recognition of our open space preservation work that we've done, that farm in Upper Chi is being developed into a warehouse, and all of the animals, the goats, are being displaced and are in need of a home. And the person who owns those goats and lives at the farm currently, John Trapea, is a son of Concord, went to Garnet Valley High School, grew up in Penns Grant, and was wondering if there was an opportunity to partner with Concord Township. And so he approached us with this opportunity. He has 42 goats, 3 sheep, and 4 ponies, now that we were all wondering how many animals are in fact there at the farm. And they are able to perform land management work, such as eating fields and brush and so forth, and that's a valuable service. And as I've noted many times, the township owns over 300 acres of open space, and as Amanda has reminded me, land management is always a consideration for us. As we get more land, we always must think about how we maintain it. And so it really is just a great opportunity for us. As we have a barn that is not actively being utilized right now over at Bush Hill Farm. One of our barns and the adjoining pastures are leased out to neighboring horses, but we have an opportunity to host these animals at Bush Hill Farm in exchange for land management services within the township. And so I'd like to move that the township staff and professionals prepare the necessary documents and our facilities at Bush Hill Farm to host these animals and for a formal consideration at next month's meeting. And Amanda has pulled up some pictures of the goats.
That's a goat.
You know, which we've seen these goats from afar. Now we'll see these goats up close. And you know, I want to just know that this is a really creative outcome here, and is also a testament to Concord Township being a place that we are able to do this. We are one of 2 agricultural security areas in Delaware County, which really looks to protect farming, and so to be able to host these goats here, they will also be available for our community events, such as the Harvest Festival, Easter egg hunt, etc. And so, looking forward to this opportunity. Thank you.
For our troopers, do you have any rules for shepherding goats if they get loose or anything? Okay. Well, no, that won't be. Okay. Okay, good. Thank you.
Trooper Nab's not in Philadelphia anymore, right?
She's thinking Philadelphia looks better every minute.
This may be one of the most exciting things I've ever done. I've ever moved after.
Yeah. Okay. Can we have a second? Yes.
Sure. Can we just have a second?
We have a second on the motion?
I do have a second, and I do have a question for Mr. Crossan.
Go ahead.
Are we going to make sure also that we prevent any animal escape, just to be reasonably careful to avoid any risk for the drivers on Bethel Road, to keep them confined?
Yes, thanks, Vanita. That's a very good question about how do we contain the animals. So shelter and containment, as I've discovered from these conversations, are both critical. The shelter is the barn, and the containment will be fencing that we place in a field between the barn and the existing pond. The fencing, I believe, will be 5 feet high. We're able to repurpose a lot of the fencing that was along the former piece that was owned by the Chettys, which we have now acquired. So what was a property line fence of post and rail fence along Bush Hill Farm is now an interior fence, which is unnecessary. So we're able to reuse a lot of that fencing material to construct a barnyard fence around that barn. And that will be high enough and be reinforced so to prevent any escaping goats.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, I was just curious if any of them have tags on their ears, because about a year ago, one was in my backyard. I didn't believe I was looking at a sheep. I thought it was a miniature horse, and I do have a movie of it, and yeah, it had a tag on its ear. So I don't know whether these animals are tagged in case they should get loose.
Yeah, we will. They're all named. I'm aware of this. So I have to imagine, I've heard a lot about Pepper, the main billy goat, but I have to imagine if he would be able to find them and identify them if they were to escape.
Can we get that fingerprint now?
Colleen, you had a question?
Yeah, John, a couple of questions. The length of the term of this lease, have we had any good discussions about the length of that lease?
Yes, it would be for a one-year term.
So we can decide, we can see how this
Exactly.
goes.
This would just be for a one-year term that would be renewable next year if we wanted to make any adjustments to the terms of the lease or anything like that. We do that with horse barn and horse pastures as well.
So it sounds like a very creative use, and it also seems like a very sustainable way to reduce maybe some of our costs with cutting grass and things like that. And they can, from what I hear, there's experience where they can go after poison ivy and kind of clear out.
My neighbor and I had, I guess it was 2 years ago, it wasn't this company, but it was a lady out of Quarryville, and we shared the cost of 6 goats, and they came and they fenced them in the backyard. And we had some woods that were heavily overgrown with poison ivy and vines, and had no idea how we were going to clear it out, and left them there for 5 days, and it was manageable. It was just amazing. It was just fascinating to watch. So I think this is worth a shot for a year. I really do.
Absolutely, thank you. And you bring up a good point. These goats have been farmed out, so to speak, for the purposes of land management. In fact, they're no stranger to Concord. They did a land clearing at a resident on Concord Road across from Penn's Grant. Shelley Chauncey engaged these goats, and so happy to have them back. But
And John,
Kevin,
I have one more question.
Oh, sorry, Colleen.
The number of animals, is there going to be a restriction on the number of animals that will be able to be housed there, and the types of animals? Because it sounds like it's more than just goats.
Yes, correct. So there's the 42 goats, 3 sheep, and 4 ponies. So that I believe that we do. We obviously aren't looking to host a breeding facility, so we will make sure to note the limitations within the lease.
Okay, Kevin.
So I think I heard a little bit in the explanation.
Sure.
Obviously, that property or elements of that property is currently used for the dog park as well. I assume that this is not going in that same area. Okay.
Correct. So this will be the barn that is next to the garage.
Okay.
So there's the big red barn that's sort of more out towards Garnet Mine Road. This is the barn that's next to the old Public Works and Parks and Rec garage. And then the area that will be fenced in for a barnyard is between that garage and the pond. So away from the dog park and really shielded from.
And this is all going to be in the documents for next month. And
That's correct.
I mean, I visually see it. It's just.
Yeah. Do we have a site map of Bush Hill Farm?
I had one up.
That's fair enough. I mean, I don't want to.
We'll have it for you next month.
Sure.
Thank you.
Very
Anyone?
good.
Okay,
Thanks,
any other
Kevin.
questions on the goats?
Yeah, Kevin, if you want to see up there, so Amanda was just circling, it's that field right in there.
Dog park's way up this end. Yes.
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
pretty far away. You're welcome.
All right.
Maureen, did you have a question?
No, good, all right.
I think they might still be available for rent. The township will not own these goats or the ponies or the sheep.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item number 4, John, you want to handle that one too? That's regarding a open space purchase we made in the land use agreement, I think?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So this is a land use license agreement with George B. Mallon, who is the owner of 97 Brandywine Street in Chadds Ford, which is the Brandywine Summit neighborhood. He is the adjoining neighbor to the property that, of vacant land that we purchased for open space last month. Well, it was last year too. It was actually in December. There is during the title work, he had a shed which was encroaching over the property line, and so this is a license agreement to allow his shed to continue in its current location with a small area around it for the time that he is the owner. So I would move approval of this license
Okay,
agreement.
do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Quick
Aye.
question.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So if he moves out of this property, this agreement goes away and a new landowner would need to eliminate that shed?
Correct. It does not transfer. Hugh, is that correct?
That is correct. This is a license. It's not a permanent easement.
But he sells the
So
property.
as long as he resides at the property, he can use the shed and a little parcel around it. But once he leaves the property, that license is extinguished. He does not have the right to transfer the rights to the license or anything of that sort.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we had a motion and a second. I think we had all in favor, aye. So that does pass. Next is the tax collector and the township finance officer and myself had a meeting the other day, and we are trying to put in place a way for people to pay their real estate taxes online. And we're going to need an authorization to continue that dialogue with the company that does provide that service. And sooner or later, we're going to have something before us to act on, subject to the review and approval by the solicitor. As it stands right now, the rate that would be charged if you wanted to do an online payment, they would be charging us $1.50 per transaction, so that would also be charged, passed on to the taxpayer. And if we do go with credit cards, I think it was a 2.65% of the amount. Again, that would not be paid by the township. That would have to be paid by the person paying the tax. So right now, we're going to be asking for a motion to basically continue that dialogue in the anticipation of the presentation of a formal document for us to act on. So do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next is the authorization for the professionals, namely Nate, to update the township zoning map to reflect township acquisitions and preservations. Over the years, the township has bought various pieces of ground. We just saw a couple tonight. The sewer department has bought various pieces of ground. And in some instances, we need to do some reverse subdivisions. And then once we identify that ground that is owned by the township and or the sewer department, possibly consider changing those zoning districts from their underlying residential to municipal institutional. So all this does is authorize the professionals, which I think is namely going to be Nate, to start putting this together to show us, and then we would be action.
And Hugh as well, because there's a legal component to a zoning map amendment.
Okay, so do we have a motion to do so?
It's so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, John, I think you're going to take us through 7 and 8.
Yes, thank you. So we're talking about advertising for bids. The Pierce Willets House, which is on Smithbridge Road, the Township Historical Society requested that we budget for the exterior painting. We had requested quotes back in 2021, and the cost came in well over the bidding threshold, which would require formal bidding. This has been budgeted, and we're hoping to award a bid in March. So that's the Pierce Willets House. We'll go on to the water project, and we'll be one motion. The water project, township has budgeted to bring public sewer and public water to the township building campus. Last month, the council authorized bidding for the sewer project, so now we need to authorize bidding for the water project. So that way they can go together and make the project be accomplished much more easily. So that's in the form of a motion for authorizing bids for Pierce Willets and the water project for the township building.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Number 8, John?
Number 8, we have some security releases for Astoria Chadds Ford. It's, release number 2 for $210,019.03. And Astoria Chadds Ford sewer release. This is the first sewer release for that project for $80,000 even. And then the third one is for Hawthorne Concord HRG, which is the Ivy Mills senior development. This is a final sewer release in the amount of $68,784. So those 3 projects are in the form of a motion.
Okay, there a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, last on the agenda is to accept as complete for filing the application of Carmen Auto Group for the Route 202 project, a preliminary final land development plan for an auto agency. This would be on the northbound lane of Route 202 between the existing Subaru agency and the hotel on the corner. We have a motion to accept that plan as complete for filing. Sure. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Under other council matters, Colleen, I think we talked earlier this evening about we were going to start having some workshops regarding public comment. Do you have anything you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention at the last meeting, we talked about reviewing our public comment section of the meeting and gathering some input and looking at the recommendations from around the state of what other townships are doing that was recently reported in one of the township magazines, and coming back and being able to have some conversation regarding maybe restructuring that public comment section at our meetings.
More to follow.
More to follow.
Mr. President, if I may, also let the record reflect that there was an executive session conducted this evening prior to the meeting to discuss a legal matter.
Thank you. I came in here knowing that I had to say that at the beginning, and I forgot to write it down, so I'm glad you could pick up. All right, anyway, Mr. Crossan, you had something you want to add?
Yeah, it's just two points. I'm a member, an appointed member of the Delaware County Green Space Task Force, appointed by Delaware County Council, and the organization this year, we've divided responsibilities, and I am the committee's liaison for Chadds Ford, Concord, Bethel, Chester Heights, and Thornbury Townships for any applications that they have for county open space grant funding and for coordinating open space work amongst those townships representing the council. And the other thing that I wanted to point out was that with the rollout of the 5G network, the 3G network for cell phones will be phased out over this year with different carriers phasing it out at different times. And I saw something today that could really impact our seniors and those who may have older cell phones, older generation cell phones that may only be used for making emergency calls, those types of life alert buttons, etc. And so it's a good thing for our seniors or those who have perhaps older cell phones to check and make sure that they're not going to lose service in the event of an emergency this year.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, upcoming township meetings and events. February 3rd, Park and Rec Board meeting. February 9th, Historical Commission. February 16th, Zoning Hearing Board. February 21st, the township offices are closed again for a holiday. No, I'm just kidding. And February 22nd, Planning Commission. They will be meeting on Tuesday since the 21st is a holiday. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Thank you for coming out this evening.
Aye.
Trooper, welcome to beautiful Delaware County.